Alright, we are live. Welcome back to Live on Slow Mode. This is our 73rd live stream. I thank you all for tuning in to our live streams, especially on this evening. We have a lot to cover this evening, so hopefully y'all stick with us throughout this live stream. If you're new to the channel, make sure you stop and hit the like and subscribe button. Please, it helps out our website and our business and our channel and helps us reach a larger audience through the algorithm on the internet. So, the topic of today for this live stream is they only care when a doctor says it. Having many views does not make one right. And we have a lot to cover this live stream, so without further ado, let us get started. So what I first wanted to go over was the topic of medicine. Since we have a lot of, we don't really know like the origin of medicine. Well, some of us don't. And so I will give a doctor, someone with a doctor title, to describe the origin of medicine, since there seems to be a lot of confusion, and it seems that people without a doctor's degree aren't given enough credibility. So let's go to a doctor who says such and put it on record. So if you see on the screen, this is from our official X page, moorishportals at slow-moed.com, or our username slow-moed420. And I have here a video featuring Charles Finch, Dr. Charles Finch, with an interview on Happy Talks. So what I said here is, quote, "Whatever you think is medicine now comes from Africa. Period. End of statement." End quote. By Dr. Charles Finch. Rest in peace. Hashtag Black Twitter. Quote, reparations, end quote. So let's show this little snippet first.
Medicine as we now understand it, whatever you think is medicine now, comes out of Africa. Period. End of statement. Can't contradict that whatsoever. All you need to do is look at, and there's only a machine. Now they wrote hundreds of medical papyri, only 9 have survived. The Edwin Smith papyrus and the Ebert papyrus. Medicine as we now...
So, this is a doctor saying this. Over 5 years ago. I'm giving y'all the reference here. Happy Talks with Dr. Charles Finch about the correlation between medicine and African philosophy, as you see here 4 years ago. So I just gave the evidence for that. And of course, we can continue. Let me bring up a book on the screen. Feel free to drop a comment. One moment, I'm searching for a... Let's see, let me go back. Okay, what I want to do is I want to put this on the screen. There we go. So we're on the topic of medicine, which Dr. Charles Finch just said. Not sure exactly the correct time link though. Let's see.
Understand it.
Let's find it really quickly on the official video. The official reference. Okay, so since he's the doctor and nobody takes people without a doctor credential by their name or a PhD by their name, let's let the doctors talk. I have limited access to books currently, so there are some books I wanted to show that I will not be able to show this live stream. This is the book African Comedic Worldview by Jacob Carruthers and Malanga Karenga. Okay, so I found the reference that I'm looking for. So this is page 124 of Comedic and the African Worldview. The transcript is having a tough time loading. I'm trying to look for it.
It's published in Van Sertima's journal. And that was, first of all, it was the beginning of, and I think me and Minoko were sick. And Joe wrote Van Sertima and became, and so, you know, what we call plant medicine.
Like the inspirations and contributions of Africans that helped develop that dynamic.
Okay. Whatever you think is the medicine, can't contribute you need to do.
Okay.
Medicine is we now understand. Medicine is we now understand it.
Okay, he's saying it right now.
Whatever you think is medicine. Whatever you think is medicine comes out of Africa. Out of Africa. Period. End of statement. Can't contradict that whatsoever.
Okay, let's start over.
Okay. Okay. Let me just.
There's the time mark right there. 22 minutes 40 seconds.
Medicine is we now understand it. Whatever you think is medicine now comes out of Africa. Period. End of statement. Can't contradict that whatsoever. All you need to do is look at, and there's only a receipt. Now they wrote hundreds of medical papyri, only 9 have survived. The Edward Smith papyrus and the Ebers papyrus. the Edward Smith papyrus, the ancient Egyptians start describing the anatomical configuration of the brain. The Ebers papyrus, they had all these kinds of medicinal applications for different kinds of diseases, mostly, you know, for what we call plant medicine. Oh, they knew they knew the heart was the center of the circulatory system, and that the beating of the heart was what caused the blood to circulate through the body. Now, the ancient Egyptians thought that the heart was really not just in terms of its physical configuration and its source of the circulation of the body, but the heart was for them the source of human spirituality. Okay? Not that they discounted the brain. They didn't do that. But for them, it was the heart. And even now, we use that same terminology that comes from that. If you meet someone, you say, if you're in love with somebody, I lost my heart to him or her. Or if you see somebody who's nice, he or she is good-hearted. If he isn't nice, he is hard-hearted. All that conception of, That all comes from ancient Egypt. And the heart was really the center of their system, doesn't it?
Okay, so let us read here, as you see highlighted on the screen, page 124 of Kemet and the African Worldview by Dr. Malenga Karenga and Dr. Jacob Crothers. So it has here, with agriculture as the basic economy upon which developed the great cities of Egypt, we can see how classification of things and occupations emerged in an organized hierarchy under religiously controlled regulations. Such occupations as animal husbandry, farming, gardening, mining, goldsmithing, silver and blacksmithing, weaving, pottery, stone quarrying, military personnel, shipbuilding, science, engineering, architecture, carpentry, mathematics, writing, medicine, astronomy, astrology, art, dance, music, traveling singers, grits, priesthood, scribes, teaching, sculpturing, and painting. Okay? So we're presenting the evidence and we're showing our references, both references from doctors. Okay, now we're gonna go on to writing, the origin of writing. I know I've been bringing this topic up throughout the live streams because this is an important topic which is seen to be covered up and just discarded, as opposed to understanding the significance of what it is. Okay? So writing, let's go back to our official Twitter. Make sure y'all follow our official Twitter page. Okay, so we have this video here by Dr. Molefe Kida Asante, which I will show now. Before we continue, let's read the tweet. Quote, even the latest scientists have said that writing starts fundamentally in Kemet in Egypt first. End quote. By Dr. Molefe Kida Asante in his video here. So let me make this full screen so that everybody can see that I am not the one talking with the credential of doctor, but Dr. Molefe Kida Asante is.
Hey, wait a minute. Listen to me. Be careful now. Understand this. You have 300,000 years of prehistory, which in Europe's mind, nothing happened until writing. 3500 BC. You know that's ridiculous. Think about it. Even Europeans were thinking about it. They it was ridiculous. I mean, it's almost like nothing happened. Oh yeah, a whole lot happened. A whole lot happened, but you don't want to count all that happened, right? You want to say, no, it doesn't start in the writing, and then you want to try to say that writing really didn't start in Africa, it really started in Mesopotamia. And then because Mesopotamia may be a little closer to Europe. Mesopotamia today is Iraq. That's Mesopotamia. So they're saying, no, it didn't start in the Nile Valley, it started in the valley of the Euphrates. That's what they say. That's where writing started. But that's not true. Even the latest scientists have said that writing starts fundamentally in Kemet, in Egypt first.
Okay, so you all see that Dr. Molefe Kida Asante said it, and I didn't. Well, I said this prior, possibly years prior. However, I don't have the title of doctor, so I'm overlooked. I don't have a large platform yet because of other things outside of our business. Okay, so we just showed Dr. Malefikita Asante present a doctor presenting the evidence of writing. Also, Dr. Malefikita Asante associated writing with the wall paintings found in the Sahara Desert in the caves, which stretches back to, I'm giving an approximation, stretches back to approximately 30,000 to 50,000 years ago. So, there's that. However, I cannot find that video at the moment. And let's see. Oh yeah. Also, I have a list in front of me. It's a list, but we're just going through some of the things. So, origin of Homo sapiens, humans. Let's see here. Let's go to Dr. Mfundishi Jehutimus. Oh, here's his credentials. Academic proof from an African historian, Dr. Mfundishi Jehutimus. So here's his credentials on LinkedIn.com. Education, Norfolk State University, Bachelor's of Arts, Master's of Education, Master of History, African History, Egyptology, Archaeology, Anthropology, Healing Science. Okay, I believe he went to Rutgers too. I could be wrong though. Okay, is this the one?
What's your degree? Would you get it?
No, it's not that one. They're here. We're gonna watch this clip right here, and I also have the link right here. So if y'all want to find this video and the link, I'm not gonna go to the links because that's taking up more time. But you all can find and go to our official Twitter page and type in, and from, as you see right here on the screen, type this in and you'll be able to find our tweets and go to the source. So on this tweet we have here, quote, "The first people in America come from the continent of Africa," by Dr. Mfundishi Jehutimus. Now, this isn't me saying this. This is what the doctor is saying, it, since this is all that they care about.
So I want people to understand. Diop made it very clear. Nation doesn't. So I want people to understand. Diop made it very clear. Nation doesn't duplicate itself two different places on the planet. Homo sapiens sapiens only come from Africa. And they migrated and populated all the other continents. So the first people in America come from the continent of Africa. Mm-hmm. The first people in Asia come from the continent of Africa. The first people in Europe come from the continent of Africa. The South Pacific, Australia, Papua New Guinea, they come from Africa. We populated the planet. So I hope that's clear. All they got to do is anthropology and archaeology, and they'll be able to see that. You know, and so I want.
Okay, so there's the evidence from this doctor saying things that I've said about a year before Neil deGrasse Tyson went on Club Shay Shay, which was a couple of weeks ago, and said that every human being has African ancestry. So, of course, I don't have the platform. As you see here, I wrote this a year ago. As you see on the screen, today is June 17, 2026, as you see right here. But as you see, this is a year and a month. And it's like, I don't have the platform and I don't have a doctor's degree to let large audiences of people know this information. So it's like, we need all of you to subscribe, all the viewers that are watching to subscribe, so that we can get this information out to more people, as opposed to dividing people like certain YouTube platforms which we'll get to later on in the live stream. So stay tuned. So yes, and also in Fudishi Jehutimus list, he references writing starting in Egypt in this book, I believe, Spiritual Warriors or Healers, that he wrote in the year 2000. I think he published it in the year 2011. So let's go to African presence in early Europe. Let me find that, bring up that book for you all. Because we have a lot of naysayers, we have a lot of people that believe just because they're older, just because they're older than you, just because they have a couple more degrees than you, just because they've been on the earth longer than you, they think that they got an ego and think that they know more than you or they're smarter than you. So we're just presenting the evidence and basically backing it up. So we have here the book African Presence in Early Europe, edited by Ivan van Sertima, as you see here. Okay, so Dr. Charles Finch. Forget which page it was. Now, me searching for the specific pages, this is still impromptu. I don't have a list for that, but I'd have an order that I want to go in so that we cover some of the topics within our time range, which can last from an hour to possibly 2 hours. But we need you all to interact with our stream, drop comments, like it, share it, and subscribe to our channel so that we can get more subscribers and we can shed a lot of people up with evidence. Okay, so we have here on page 17 of African Presence in Early Europe. Okay, wonderful, we got single page. Alright, so let's make it big screen like that. So I'm going to read a little bit of this page. This is by Dr. Charles Finch. As you see here, Charles S. Finch. The Evolution of the Caucasoid. Charles S. Finch. Let me zoom in a little bit more. Okay, does that look better to y'all? It looks better to me. Okay. Having established that humanity first appeared on Earth in the evolutionary scheme as African and black, we have to in some way grapple with the difficult multi-tentacle problem of the development of races. That is, of the major human subspecies, of which there are three. 1. The Africoid. 2. The Caucasoid. And 3. The Mongoloid. If we focus on the development of the Caucasoid, which presents a compelling model of racial evolution, we find that while there was a closely interwoven complex of ecological factors which figured in this process, the most important phenomenon was the change of skin color from black to white. Now, understand here, these are adjectives. Black and white are not nationalities. Their status is in the United States system. Okay, they're part of a caste system. We've already went over this in our previous live streams. Okay, so let us continue. It is fair to say that the change in skin color, more than any other single feature, put its stamp on the individual races. To examine the evolution of the Caucasoid, we must establish several premises. 1. The evolution of the Caucasoid occurred in the Ice Age environment near the southern limit of the Great Line European glaciers. In the area of southwestern Russia, Eurasia, around the 51st parallel. 2. White skin was more favorably adapted to the ecological conditions of this region during the critical period. 3. This proto-Caucasoid population experienced a more or less prolonged period of isolation that enabled it to develop into a distinct subspecies or race. Now, we have to understand here, race, what we know as race, as different races, is a social construct. In theory, it is scientifically meaningless, according to Dr. Alice Roberts, author of The Incredible Human Journey, a British documentary released by BBC. No pun intended. From 1.75 million to 12,000 BP, the Earth experienced a prolonged period of cooling known as the Ice Age. This Ice Age was divided into 4 quote-unquote glacials, each separated by 4 warm quote-unquote interglacials. During the glacial, the ambient temperatures of the Earth dropped and great sheets of ice, i.e. glaciers, formed and covered vast land masses of North America, Northern Europe, and Siberia. Much smaller glaciers formed in the mountainous regions of Southern Europe, tropical Africa, and Southern Asia. The most recent glacial was in Europe, the Warm Glacial, which occurred between 75,000 and 12,000 BP. During the Warm Glacial, vast ice sheets more than a mile thick extended down from the Arctic to a line roughly defined by the 51st parallel. This glacial line extended through southern England, northern Germany, Poland, and southern Russia. There were 2 quote-unquote interstitial periods during the glacial line retreated northward to some extent, only to return southward during the quote-unquote stadial periods. From our purposes, we need only be concerned with the Worm 1 interstitial, 50 to 40,000 BP before present, and the Worm 2 stadial, 40 through 20,000 before present. We propose that Caucasoid evolution was decisively affected by the Ice Age ecology of the mid-Worm period, 50 through 20,000 before present. Homo sapiens sapiens first emerged in Africa more than 150,000 or more years ago, resembling the Twa, Pygmy, or Sun Bushman populations of Central, we're continuing on page 18, and Southern Africa, but it is not known at what period he began to migrate out. The first appearance of Homo sapiens sapiens does coincide with the late Riss Glacial in Europe, which ended about 120,000 before present. He could have migrated into Europe over the Gibraltar land bridge, which existed at the time, but until 120,000 before present, he couldn't have penetrated very deeply into Europe because of the glacial barrier. One moment. Gotta get hydrated. Drop a comment. Drop a comment. Like. Subscribe. Share. I have to talk a little bit loud so that the mic gets what I'm saying. Okay. Well, this is a small mic, so we need y'all to support our channel so that we can invest in a more better mic, so I won't have to talk as loud. I'm not sure if my voice is hurting y'all ears. I don't know, but I'm just trying to get this information out. So let's continue. The Riss Worm interglacial between 120,000 and 75,000 before present was a period of much warmer temperatures in which the European glaciers retreated to the far north. Most of the present-day Europe would have been habitable then. However, there has not come to light any fossil evidence documenting the presence of Homo sapiens sapiens in Europe at this time or earlier. At around 75 before present, the Worm Glacial set in which reproduced reintroduced, the Ice Age into Europe. For the next 25 through 30,000 years, Europe was inhabited below the 51st parallel, so the evidence shows exclusively by Neanderthaloids. Who the Neanderthaloids were and precisely where they came from is one of prehistory's continuing enigmas. Some have classified Neanderthal man as a separate species who evolved out of Homo erectus and named him Homo neanderthalis. Others, and this seems to be a growing consensus, have identified him as a branch of Homo sapiens, naming him Homo sapiens neanderthalis. As you see here, they're still Homo. They're still part of the Homo, so they still came out of the continent of Africa. He has been found in Africa, Asia, as well as Europe, and the datings for his appearance vary from 250,000 before present to 110,000 before present, depending on how certain fossils are characterized. If he is Homo sapiens, the picture of human evolution, particularly as regards to the Caucasoid, becomes rather more obscure. Indeed, there are those who have ventured to say that modern Caucasoid populations are modifications of the Neanderthaloids. In any case, the Neanderthals died out entirely about 30,000 before present, and the question of the Neanderthal role in sapiens evolution is still an open one. Neither the fossil nor the archaeological evidence reveals a presence of Homo sapiens sapiens in Europe before 50,000 BP or before present. The beginning of the Worm 1 interstitial, it appears that the Homo sapiens sapiens began to occupy Europe in significant numbers sometime after the beginning of the interstitial period at 50,000 before present, when there was temporary retreat of the glacial line. They would have found Neanderthal man already there, and like him, would have wandered over that part of Europe and Eurasia below the 51st parallel. A small group of Homo sapiens sapiens would have settled in the southwestern part of Eurasia, that is Russia, and would have remained there even after renewal of the more frigid Ice Age ecology at an onset of the Worm Stadial II, about 40,000 before present. The climate would have been cooler, more overcast, and with less drastically reduced sunlight. What did all this have to do with the emergence of the Caucasoid? In order to arrive at a possible explanation, we must look at the phenomenon of vitamin D metabolism. One of the most vital functions of the skin is the production of vitamin D from a biochemical substance called 7-dehydrocholesterol by interaction with the ultraviolet light of the sun. And we can continue here. I'll finish off to right here on page 17. This is a critical process because vitamin D is absolutely necessary for proper materialization of the bones. If it is deficient, rickets in children and osteomalacia in adults will occur or result. Even today, but most practically in the past, virtually all of the significant vitamin D in the body was produced in the skin by sunlight. Today, exogenous vitamin D in the diet has almost eliminated rickets in the developed world. But the skin, even there, is still the most important producer of vitamin D. In the tropics, rickets is rare because of constant, abundant, and direct sunlight. We have noted above the function of the skin melanin in screening out ultraviolet light in the tropics, which, while essential in protecting man living in the tropics from the deadly effects of skin cancer, also means that most of the ultraviolet light that would go into producing vitamin D is screened out. Because there is so much sunlight, however, enough ultraviolet light penetrates the melanin barrier to produce sufficient vitamin D for the needs of the bones. Okay, so that was Dr. Charles Finch again, and the African presence in early Europe by Dr. Ivan van Sertima. Or for those of you that don't want to refer to him as doctor, just simply Ivan van Sertima. Okay, now, that was Homo sapiens, right? Okay, so Let's go to another doctor. For some reason, it seems like when I search for a word on Twitter, it can't find my exact tweet. Well, let's use our previous live stream since it's already here. Okay.
Well, this guy's region. Look, so we all came out of Africa, okay? We all originated, yes. So basically every human form originated from Asiatic. No, from Africa, yes. Humans, okay, origin is in Africa. There is no dispute. But none at all. None, zero at all. So now, let me get to that place, we treat people. You say, and you say, oh, yeah, that's where are you supposed to come? Well, to tell you, where were you born? America. Where your parents born? Brooklyn. Where your parents born? Yeah, that's what I'm telling you. Right. Alright, where you born? Okay. Where you born? I'm Swedish. Okay. Where are you born? I'm born in New York. Where your parents born? New York. Where your parents? Because that's the immigrant. Right. Where your parents born? No, yeah, right. So, they come to Minnesota. Okay? Where's your parents born? Minnesota. Where's your Sweden. So Swedish. Yeah. You see, the world back, they're trade find a place that soothes their need to have some kind of association, even if they've never been to the area. And they stop there. Okay? What I tell them now is, why do you keep going? Just keep going. Why are we going to keep okay? Keep going. And if you keep going, we're all African. There's the ancestry world that is African. And you go far back on the tree. But you stopped in Sweden, and you stopped in Italy, and you stopped in Poland. Keep going back. The tree, like human tree life,
okay, so I just wanted to show that to provide the evidence, and this was one of our shorts that we shared, but this was from our previous live stream. I can't think of the name. We can go to our official. So this is on our previous live stream, as you see here. This is on live stream 71, so this was 2 weeks ago that we shared this information. We shared this information from this Dr. Neil deGrasse Tyson. Okay? And we can continue. I haven't even shown Dr. Alice Roberts, but we're already almost an hour into this live stream. So let's continue. So Neil deGrasse Tyson. Now let's compare it to what we have been saying, or what I have been saying the past couple of years, but it's been neglected, ostracized, and ridiculed. Right? So we have here simply Africans, Homo sapiens sapien originated in Africa, Alkebulan, those humans have African DNA. In reply to this this account who was sharing some it seemed like some misinformation. We already went over this in our previous live stream. And I replied to David Osiris. The first Europeans came from Africa. Homo sapiens sapiens come from the dark-skinned, swarthy Moorish woman in Africa. So we've already been saying this years before Neil deGrasse Tyson, Dr. Neil deGrasse Tyson, finally went on a major platform and addressed the issue. So in that time frame of a year, how many people didn't know that they came from the continent of Africa? That Homo sapiens came from the continent of Africa? How many people believe that they came from aliens, from Anunnaki, with no evidence, no journals published in archaeology and science, nothing? But it's like, it's ridiculous. And what the people need, for some reason, because they've been brainwashed and programmed for centuries, especially in the Western Hemisphere, is that this constant need of having to have a doctor or someone with a doctor title explain to them what things mean, when the doctors can be wrong themselves. Okay? Excuse me one moment. Okay, so let's go to the incredible. You know what? It's faster to just go on our Twitter page. We'll be able to find everything we're looking for. Okay, so see, it's not looking for what I need for some reason. Looking for Dr. Alice Roberts. For some reason, it doesn't recognize what I'm looking for.
Move to want to have African history infused because they brainwashed that it's just junk. Black people are not moved to want to have African history infused because they brainwashed that it's just junk. They're the kids that grew up.
We can show that. Okay. I'm looking for a tweet here. Okay, I didn't include her name. But this is from Dr. Alice Roberts, which we mentioned earlier on in this live stream. Oh, it's not going to zoom out, so. This is from Dr. Alice Roberts. Well, this is from the book Black Genesis, as you see here, by Robert Bauval and Dr. Thomas Brophy. Quote, race, end quote, is scientifically meaningless. So, as you see here below, races, historical attitudes toward different races are scientifically meaningless. This is by Dr. Alice Roberts. And here's the link to the Telegraph, but it won't show because I don't have access to it, as you see here. So I have to sign in order to get access to it. But you all can go to this website and see Alice Roberts on The Incredible Human Journey. BBC 2 series, Dr. Alice Roberts explaining how science is unraveling the mystery of human origins. So you all can go there and do your due diligence. Now, Malefi Asante, John G. Jackson. Okay, so we're gonna go to another doctor. We're gonna go to 2 more doctors, right? But we don't have any video evidence to present to you all. But they did write it in the book. So let's go to the book. Okay. Excuse me, I was looking for Atlantis. Man, I have to remember that page. 121. Alright. So we're going to cook up that, and then we're going to also get Dr. Albert Churchward, Signs and Symbols of Primordial Man. I mean, I'm saying it, right? But I'm using the doctor to say it. Since that's what everybody cares about. Except that's what determines the pinnacle of knowledge. So let's just go to doctors and see what the doctors have to say, because that's what the sheep will believe. In reference to our thumbnail. So let's go to our thumbnail. So as y'all see, the thumbnail of this video, you got the doctor in front of the sheeple, or the sheep. The sheep are the people who just follow what the doctor says. Okay? This is like the crook and the flail concept of the pharaoh. Okay? So let us make this bigger. It just went to a different page. Okay, let us go to 121. So, page 1. I mean, we went over this page like multiple times. It's like, as y'all see on the screen, we went over this page multiple times. And we're going to go over it again, because it's being covered up and people don't understand, especially the black people, don't understand the significance of the importance of writing and who created it. Okay? Okay, so we have 2 books here. On the left screen, we have Introduction to African Civilizations by John G. Jackson. And on the right screen, we have The Signs and Symbols of Primordial Man by Dr. Albert Churchward. Okay? So this is page 121 of the Introduction to African Civilization by John G. Jackson. And I'm going to start here. Among the great inventions of the Egyptians were the alphabet, paper, ink, and the pen. The first paper was made of thin strips of papyrus reeds pasted together. Ink was made from vegetable gum and soup mixed with water. By dipping a pointed reed into the ink, the Egyptian scribe wrote messages on the papyrus sheet. Writing was a basic invention, and its influence on the evolution of civilization was profound. Quote, the invention of writing and of a convenient system of records on paper, end quote, says Breasted, quote, has had a greater influence in the uplifting of the human race than any other intellectual achievement in the career of man. It was more important than all the battles ever fought and all the constitutions ever devised, end quote. Ancient Times, page 45, by James Henry Breasted. Let me continue here. Another great Egyptian invention is the calendar. The earliest Egyptians measured time by the moon. For the month, the interval between two new moons was the unit of time measurement. The moon month varies in length from 29 to 30 days, and the lunar calendar is cumbersome and inaccurate. Page 122. The lunar year of 354 days is 11 days shorter than the solar year, and such a calendar can be made to work only by intercalating an extra month at suitable intervals. The Egyptians met this difficulty by devising an accurate calendar. They noticed that the dog star Sothis, Sirius, rose helically before sunrise on July 19th at the beginning of the inundation, the annual overflow of the Nile. This gave them an improved calendar of 365 days in length. The 12 months of the Egyptian year was uniformly of 30 days each in duration, giving a total of 360 days. So 5 feast days were added at the end of the year to make the count come out right. Okay? So I just added that little extra. So let us go here to the signs and symbols of primordial man, page 43. Okay? We're going to start here. These cursive characters really form the first alphabet. Hold on, let me zoom in. Let me zoom in just a little bit here. Okay. I'm trying to move it over a little bit. Okay. Let's do that. These cursive characters really form the first alphabet that ever existed, and from these the Phoenician and hence all other alphabets emanated. Eusebius, Plato, and Tacitus all state that the Phoenicians did not claim themselves to be the inventors of the art of writing, but admitted that it was attained by them from Egypt. Therefore, the Egyptians were the inventors of the alphabet. Okay? So that's 2 doctors there. One right here was the first PhD from America in Egyptology. Dr. Albert Churchward was a medical surgeon, and also he has other various credentials, but he also was a Freemason. Thank you, the Goats Academy. Thank you, man. Thank you for joining the live stream. Okay, now let's continue to the book, The Integration Trap, Generational Gap, by Dr. Obetashaka. Give me one moment as I bring that up. Bring this up shortly. Okay, now let's add this to the mix. So we have this book, The Integration Trap, The Generation Gap, caused by choice between 2 cultures. Obetashaka, PhD. The Anu, founders of Kemet. Now, I came across this quote recently. Ethiopians. Let me go to Ethiopians because that's where it was. I think I mentioned it on our past live stream. Here we go. Exactly what I was looking for. So on page 177, oh, I lost the page there. Where we at? Where we at? Hang on, let me get it all in pictures just so y'all can see. 3 different doctors. Okay, y'all see that here? That's page 177, so let's go to 177. Thank y'all for commenting. Thank y'all for liking, sharing, etc. All of this helps out and helps us get our message to more people who want to know. So we're going to start on page 176. Okay, so we're going to start a little bit from up here. Okay. Leakey's discovery of human ancestors are in the area of the Great Lakes region at the source of the Nile near the Mountain of the Moon, which we have already said on the live stream from Dr. Muada Ashby's book, The Serpent Power Path. Our people come from the base of the Mountain of the Moon, according to the Egyptians. Okay? Diop explains that the entire human race has its origin in this spot. And from these people, Diop also further stated that of necessity, the earliest men were ethnically homogeneous and negroid. Gloger's law, which would also appear to be applicable to human beings, lays it down that warm-blooded animals evolving in a warm and humid climate will secrete a black pigment, eumelanin. As previously explained, the world's first humans, or Homo sapiens sapiens, were black Twa, who the Greeks called pygmies. As noted in Chapter 3, mitochondrial DNA conclusively traces the world's first mother to the Twa or pygmies. Humanity has a common origin, and civilization has a common origin in Africa. The ancient classical writer of the West, Diodorus of Sicily, discussed the origin of Kemet in a way familiar to ancient scholars. The Ethiopians say that the Egyptians are one of their colonies which was brought into Egypt by Osiris. They add that from them, as from their authors and ancestors, the Egyptians get most of their laws. It is from them that the Egyptians have learned to honor kings and gods and bury them with, continuing on page 177, the Twa or Anu, founders of pre-dynastic Kemet chapter. Such pomp, sculpture, and writing were invented by the Ethiopians. The Ethiopians cite evidence that they are more ancient than the Egyptians. The Greeks used the term Ethiopians, which stems from the words Athean, which means quote-unquote burn, or ops, which means quote-unquote face, or people of burnt face. For the Greeks, an Ethiopian was a person with a black skin who lived in Africa and Asia. The people who the Greeks referred to as Ethiopians who founded Egypt were the Anu people. To be historically precise, the civilization of the Greeks called Ethiopia in the pre-dynastic period was named Nubia. There's my evidence there from 3 different doctors, because I don't have a PhD currently. I don't have a doctors of divinity currently. I don't have a medical doctors currently. But we have doctors, 3 doctors saying basically the same thing. And I've already shown the human origins from different doctors. So, okay. So you all see, you all can rewind back. I mean, it's here. Every highlighted section showing the importance of writing and where it came from. So let's continue on with our live stream, because I have a topic that I want to address with an inaccuracy made by a non-doctor who claims to be a professor but has an influence of almost 5 million people on the internet. Okay? So, well, actually, let's go ahead and get that out of the way, and then I'll continue with what I wanted to say later on. Let's possibly give us another hour. Thank y'all for tuning in. Thank y'all for watching, liking, commenting, subscribing, and sharing the video, because this is very important for the upcoming generations of humans on the planet. Okay, so let's go back to our Twitter page. Now, on our Twitter page, make sure y'all follow. I recently put out a post on this video by Professor Dave Explains. Some of y'all are familiar with Professor Dave Explains on the internet. Those of you who are familiar with science or look for science, etc., may have researched Professor Dave, who basically makes a living off of ridiculing other people who are smarter than him. So, what I said here on this tweet: this is what happens when you give egoistic people a platform. Y'all boy, quote, Professor Dave, end quote, thinks that gravity is not a theory. Okay? So let us go to this video and look at the comment.
Thus velocities, the atmosphere is distributed along a gradient.
So, excuse my language. So on Professor Dave's channel, I'm not subscribed to Professor Dave. If y'all like his content, make sure y'all subscribe to Professor Dave Explains. Okay? If y'all like his content, make sure y'all subscribe. If y'all support it, whatever. Okay? So what I wanted to show was, I wanted to go to his videos. For some reason I can't scroll. I'm not sure what's going on here. I'm trying to scroll, but I can't even see the scroll bar. Okay, there we go. Even my scroll wasn't working, so I don't know what's going on. Okay, so I've been seeing Professor Dave Explains videos on my timeline, right? So I've been seeing a lot of his thumbnails attacking dark-skinned, swarthy scientists, basically. I view these people as scientists because they're observing, not because they have the credentials of a PhD, doctors, etc. Science means to observe that which is observable. So anybody can be a scientist even if they observe, if they consider themselves an observer. Okay? Not in the academic sense, since that seems to matter to a lot of people. Okay, so he's been like antagonizing Lord Jamar and targeting him
densest
on
at sea level,
statements that he said about the flat Earth theory. Okay, now me personally, I don't know. I don't have the evidence. I've never been on the moon. I don't know. All I know is that we can get to the moon, but we can't get to the bottom of the ocean, and that's a problem. Okay? So basically in this video, he's just antagonizing Lord Jamar throughout the video and giving all this information, right? That is true. By the Ghost Academy. Thank you for putting that comment. Yes, we're all scientists and philosophers. Thank you for putting that. But basically, Professor Dave Explains has a large following. He has almost 5 million viewers on YouTube. Okay? In comparison to our small YouTube channel as of right now, which only has about 1,100 subscribers. Okay? So he's attacking Lord Jamar, providing these slides and everything. Let me go to where I want to touch on. Hang on. Since my transcribe isn't working, hang on. I got the here we go. The timestamps right here.
Equals mg. Weight equals mass. Force exerted by. You've
Calling trick, not so. Eat.
So when I pressed you to defend those things you heard on the internet, you crumbled because you don't know what any of those words mean. Cry about it.
So, like, the average person, like, for instance, this is a question that was asked to me. Like, if I was to ask you, what is the definition of weight? Do you think the average person has the scientific definition of what weight is?
Not in their mind. You could try to approximate what you think it is, but it might sound stupid.
Right. So that's what I'm calling trick. Now, so if I'm having a conversation about something and now I move the goalpost and say, first of all, what's the definition of weight? And I don't know. Oh, so you don't even know what weight is. So how can you argue? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so it was some bullshit like that.
You've had 16 months to learn what weight means and you still haven't done it. That's nobody's problem but yours. Weight is the force exerted by an object by virtue of its position in a gravitational field. W equals mg. Weight equals mass times the local acceleration due to gravity. You were trying to disprove the existence of gravity by referencing a concept that does not exist without gravity. That's how fucking dumb you are. And if other people also don't know what weight means, that doesn't help your case at all. Do you know why? Because if you stop 100 people on the street and 95 of them don't know the definition of weight, and then you tell them, all of them will go, oh really? That's neat, I learned something today. They won't shit their pants and cry and tell you the earth is flat, because as dumb as many people are, almost nobody is dumb enough to be a flat earther.
Okay, so what Professor Dave Explains tactic here is to basically ridicule as opposed to going to analyzing what even the words that he's using. So what I did, as you see here on this comment, let's zoom in. As y'all see, I didn't like my own comment, so of course that's a well-known tactic. Oh, let's get other people to like my comment, even though it's incorrect. But what I said is, on the timestamp, gravity is a theory, which it is. Professor Dave Explains replied, nope. I replied, yes, it does not take a professor to know that, which it doesn't. He continued to say, being a smug douche doesn't make you any less wrong and dumb. Gravity is a natural phenomenon. It can be described by laws like Newton's laws of universal gravitation or theories, like general relativity. Later, it may be described by a totally different theory. Gravity is not a theory. You're a fucking moron, and you need to know that about yourself. I continue to say, being an egotistical narcissist does not make a theory not a theory. The etymology of dumb is mute, which you all can do your due diligence and research, which I clearly am not doing in retorting to egocentric punk like you. I am not a moron, but a Moor. Your idol Isaac Newton theories stem from the African philosophy by way of Rosicrucianism. Pimenta Bay, 2002, pages 176 through 177. A theory is a theory, and that is what gravity is. You need to get off your high horse because all these views on the internet does not make you right. Hey, look, the worthless brainwashed sack of shit ignored everything I just said, and is still pretending he isn't stupid. Try reading what I just wrote, you fucking twat. Then learn what a theory is. General relativity is a theory about gravity. You can't have a theory about a theory. Now can you, you fucking idiot? Now, reply yet again, ignoring everything I said and humiliating yourself some more. Come on, bitch boy. So I said, I debunked everything you said, and you are only replying out of emotion like a woman. No logical evidence. You are just using words, but don't even know who created the alphabet and writing, which we have shown, which I'll show later. Gravity is a theory that is still being built upon. Did you really study chemistry? Do you know where chemistry comes from? You cannot have the word theory without the alphabet and writing, now can you? You are just using word insult silent and know nothing, little man. Okay? So as we shown, as you seen on the screen, I just shown by 3 doctors where writing comes from, where the alphabet comes from. Now, gravity being a theory, I obtained that information from a college professor or college doctor instead of professor, like Professor Dave explains claim to be, by the name of Dr. Kevin Storr of Prairie View A&M University. Let's go to Dr. Kevin Storr's credentials, because I just viewed them. A couple days ago. So, Prairie View A&M University, Kevin Storr Physics Department. So, some of you all may be familiar with Dr. Kevin Storr from Prairie View A&M University. So, Kevin Storr. I took a University of Physics course with Dr. Kevin Storr, and in this class, he said that this was approximately 8 years ago. Dr. Kevin Storr said that gravity is a theory. Okay? Now, Dr. Kevin Storr, here's his education here. Let's zoom it in. Bachelor's of Science of Computer Science, Prairie View A&M University, Prairie View, Texas, 1996. Bachelor's of Science Physics, Prairie View A&M University, Prairie View, 1996. Master's of Science Physics, Florida State University, Tallahassee, Florida, 2000. PhD Physics, Florida State University, Tallahassee, Florida, 2001. Okay? So that is his credentials. That's where I got the theory of gravity in my pursuit of taking a civil engineering degree, obtaining a civil engineering degree. Now, what I want to relate this? Oh, I also continue on with the theory of the theory of gravity, which it is. Gravity is a theory. Let's type in Google what gravity is. We have physicists, astrophysicists, who can't explain what gravity is, but for some reason, Professor Dave Explains seems to have the answer of what gravity is. So let us go to okay, so as you see on the screen, as you all see on the screen, I spelled that wrong. Let me spell it right. Okay, as y'all see on the screen of Google, gravity is a theory, or let's make it better. Let's make it better so it's not biased. I'm just typing a simple question into Google, since that's all people like to do is Google stuff as opposed to do research and think just because they've been on the earth a little bit longer than you that they're smarter than you and they know more than you, and since they have a degree and all these titles and everything, that they're smarter than you. So here's the answer from Google showing the results. Is gravity a theory? This is Google. This isn't me. This is what the internet says. Yes, gravity is both an observable fact and a scientific theory. So let's go here to the National Center for Science Education. This is a journal article. Gravity, it's only a theory. Textbook disclaimers are down but not out. This satirical look at, quote, gravity a theory, end quote, disclaimers, images, what might happen if advocates applied the same logic to the theory of gravitation that they do to the theory of evolution. All physics textbooks should include this warning label. This textbook contains material on gravity. Universal gravity is a theory, not a fact, regarding the natural law of attraction. This material should be approached with an open mind, studied carefully, and critically considered. The universal theory of gravity is often taught in schools as a fact, when in fact it is not even a good theory. First of all, no one has measured gravity for even atom and even star, and every star, excuse me. It is simply a religious belief that is, quote unquote, universal. Secondly, school textbooks routinely make false statements. Let me zoom in here. False statements, for example, quote, the moon goes around the earth, end quote. If the theory of gravity were true, it would show that the sun's gravitational force on the moon is much stronger than the earth's gravitational force on the moon. So the moon would go around the sun. Anybody can look up at night and see the obvious gaps in gravity theory. I don't really want to read all of this, but I want to show just that little snippet. What I wanted to show was I want to go to the Department of Energy, because the Department of Energy recently posted an article which is higher than the National Center for Science Education. The Department of Energy, which is higher. So, DOE explains gravity. We're gonna read this article. Since Professor Dave Explains, with almost 5 million subscribers, thinks that gravity is not a theory. Okay, let's do it here. So, DOE explains gravity. Scientists are using the dark energy spectroscopic instrument to study dark energy and how it may counter the effects of gravity, causing the expansion of the universe to accelerate. Image courtesy of Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory. Gravity is a force of fundamental attraction between all things that have mass or energy. It feels powerful to us in our daily lives, but it is by far the weakest of the four known forces in nature. The strong force is the strongest of the forces, and it binds nuclei together. The electromagnetic force is the next strongest and governs almost our entire existence, from chemistry to our sense of touch and all the properties of light. The weak force is much weaker than electromagnetism and causes certain nuclei to fall apart. Gravity is also the only force that is not part of the standard model of particle physics. Let me hydrate a little. Thank y'all for tuning in. Thank you, the Gold Academy. You're going off. Thank you for posting and interacting with this live stream. I just have to get hydrated here. Yes, you can know my name and not know me at all. That's true. We can name things and not know it. We can name a bird, but that's not what that is. We can call it that, but that's what man has come up to name this thing. Okay, I'm just giving an example there. So, to show how much stronger the strong, weak, and electromagnetic forces are than gravity, it helps to think about life on Earth. We are on a planet with more than 13.1 septillion pounds of mass, but we can still easily move around the surface. Gravity has two features that help it to shape our universe. Its strength is proportional to how much mass or energy is present, and it has an infinite range. Electromagnetism also has an infinite range, but the strong and the weak forces have a range of roughly the size of an atomic nucleus. Gravity's range means that over time, even small distant masses attract each other and coalesce into larger masses. This attracts even more mass, creating stars and planets, galaxies, and superclusters over the history of our universe. Scientific understanding of gravity as a force and nature and how it works mathematically began with Isaac Newton. In 1697, Newton's theory united the gravity that lets apples fall to the earth with the gravity that causes planets to orbit the sun. Before Newton's theory of gravity, Johannes Kepler's incredibly use of accurate laws of planetary motion empirically described the motion of the planets and corrected Copernicus' model of circular orbits. However, it was not until Newton that science understood that Kepler's law were a consequence of the laws of motion and the universal law of gravitation. The theory of gravity proposed by Newton stood for more than 200 years. The theory of gravity proposed by Newton stood for more than 200 years. Let us go back to Professor Dave's channel. Gravity is not a theory. You see it here. Almost 5 million subscribers on the internet. Gravity is not a theory. Let us continue. The theory of gravity proposed by Newton stood for more than 200 years. Newton's law of gravitation was one of the most successful theories ever produced. Newton's law of gravitation was one of the most successful theories ever produced. Almost 5 million subscribers. Gravity is not a theory. We still teach it in school, and most of us intuitively think of gravity as a force. However, Newton's theory was wrong, and Newton himself lamented that his law of gravity was quote-unquote merely a description of gravity that did not explain what gravity is and why it occurs. Newton's theory faced lingering paradoxes and observations that weren't perfectly in line with the theory's prediction. With a tiny list of Newtonian inconsistencies and a catalog of Newtonian successes, Albert Einstein went on to create a new theory of gravity. When Einstein completed his theory of gravity, known as the general theory of relativity, he predicted that gravity was not a force at all, but rather the result of space-time curve by the presence of mass and energy. Einstein's theory of gravity is geometric and not based on the idea of a force. Our understanding of gravity is drastically different from our understanding of the other three forces. Unlike the strong, weak, and electromagnetic forces, scientists don't know if gravity is transmitted by the exchange of special particles in a quantum theory of gravity. The gravitational force would be carried by a particle called a graviton, but we have never experimentally detected such a particle, nor do we have any working quantum theory of gravity like we do for the other three forces. For now, both Newton's theory of gravity as well as Einstein's are both extremely useful. Scientists use our current understanding to successfully put satellites in orbit, visit the moon and other planets, study the expansion of the universe, and study exotic objects like black holes and dark matter. DOE Office of Science contributions to gravity research. The Department of Energy Office of Science supports research into gravity primarily through its high energy physics HELP program. HELP explores the world is made of and of what the world is made of and how it works at the smallest and largest scales. From the tiniest particles to outer space, the DOE Office of Science pursues many of these topics through HELP's Cosmic Frontier, experimental research area of theoretical physics research area. Cosmic Frontier projects investigate the mass energy content of the universe and the history of the universe from the Big Bang to the structure observed today. This involves understanding dark matter and dark energy, including the International and Multi-Institution LZ and ADMX collaborations, the Dark Energy Survey, the Dark Energy Spectroscopic Instrument DSI, and the South Pole Telescope 3G SPT 3G. Gravity facts. Gravity moves at the speed of light, a fact confirmed by the Laser Interferometer Gravitational Wave Observatory LIGO in 2016. What does it mean that gravity acts as mass? The attraction between you and the Earth is a result of both your mass and the Earth's mass. Why does light bend when passing near objects like the sun? Newton's theory doesn't explain this, but Einstein's theory of gravity does. Gravity doesn't just affect matter, it also affects antimatter. That's why anti-hydrogen falls down, not up. And here's the resources. I'll just read it all. Resources: DOE Office of Science High Energy Physics Program, DOE Cosmic Frontier Research Area, DOE Office of Science Supported Physics, research that touches on gravity, dark energy survey, DES, dark energy spectroscopic instrument, DSI, South Pole telescopic 3G, SPT 3G, LZ collaboration, ADMX collaboration. Scientific terms can be confusing. DOE explains, offers straightforward explanations of keywords and concepts in fundamental science. It also describes how these concepts apply to the work that the Department of Energy's Office of Science conducts, as it helps the United States excel in research across the scientific spectrum. Okay? So, we have an influencer by the name of Dave Explains. Professor Dave Explains. I forgot the professor. So, what Professor Dave unfortunately doesn't realize is that Professor Dave explained, you have a ego. You have your ego is through the roof, and the numbers of almost 5 million subscribers has went to your head, and this inflation of the ego caused you to show an inaccurate statement. So by me providing the evidence, and as opposed to retorting in a feminine way, like you did with the insult word salad that you displayed, trying to cover up your ignorance to hide the fact that you're egocentric, and you obviously don't understand that a theory is a theory. This shows that you need to lower your ego, and this shows your ignorance of the origin of the alphabet, the origin of words, the origin of writing, etc. And I just presented the evidence for the world to see. Now, this is what I would deem karma, and basically trying to insult and ridicule people who are smarter than you. Okay? So, while you're trying to ridicule people who are smarter than you, you need to reflect on yourself, and you need to check yourself. Okay? So, that's basically all I have to say on this subject. And you all can do your due diligence and basically put your own opinions in the comments, the live stream, etc. And we can see where this goes, because based on my evidence, gravity is a theory. Okay? So we have a lot of people like Professor Dave Explains on the internet who have a large following, who have a large people supporting them. Unlike our channel as of yet, we need more subscribers, we need more people to share, like, comment, etc., interact with our business, so that we can rise to a higher platform, so that we can provide actual evidence as opposed to nonsense. Okay? So I'm going to end this with a last, with another doctor. So recently, this is the company man, YouTube, another subscriber, great man, Justin Hunt, great man, power to the people. He was a host on Hip Hop DX, but basically, something that he mentioned here, and the doctor that he referenced. Let's go to my comment, because this is still impromptu. I haven't went over this. This is my first time going back over this video since writing this comment. So This is why I said, love your work, Justin. Been following you since Hip Hop DX. I must state here that the first doctor in recorded human history was African Moorish Kush Kemet Imhotep. Getting a PhD from Western educational system is not all that. Amanda Seals pun. Like some may think, such as Dr. Rachel Martin thinks it is. She got a PhD and still think human beings are crayons, black and white, which I'm about to show. So let's just show a little bit of this.
Years as a life coach, and had some pretty high profile conversations with Nick the past couple of days. Take a look at this right here. This woman right here is Dr. Cheyenne Bryant. Dr. Cheyenne Bryant, 1 second applause. Now you can see her here. She is on the boat. She is stunning, looking beautiful. Got her bags in the background. There's Cardi B's Pretty and Petty that's playing because I think that's the mood that she is in. Dr. Cheyenne Bryant has made a name for herself over the past few years as a life coach, and had some pretty high profile conversations with Nick Cannon, with Cam Newton, a few others, Shannon Sharp, I believe, as well. And so she's gone on to a number of shows, and she presents herself as a life coach, giving people advice on ways that they can improve their relationships and just their quality of life. 1 second applause. And so she has made a name for herself in a major way. But over the past few weeks, whether or not she's actually a doctor, has come under scrutiny. Now let's take a quick look at her webpage here. This is Dr. Cheyenne Bryant's webpage here. You can see that she's offering life coaching here for $350 sessions. She's got $500 private wellness retreat sessions. She's got $500. You can book her as a speaker, a number of different things. Down here, office life coaching for $750. Travel to you life coaching for $1,500. Is good business that she's in. And so recently she went on to the Joe Budden podcast, maybe a few weeks ago. And on the Joe Budden podcast, it came into question again whether or not she's actually a doctor. And her description as to why people can't find her doctoral is that the school she went to, Argosy University, has closed, and that she had passed her 2-year window to actually go get her transcripts, right? So she doesn't have proof from the university because the school closed, and she doesn't seem to want to show her doctoral that she had to put together. So now this whole conversation is like, yo, why is Dr. Cheyenne Bryant out here lying about being a doctor?
Tomatoes.
It's a bigger conversation than it may seem, but it's a big conversation. And so on the Joe Budden podcast, they're the first ones to really investigate that. So we're going to take a look at this video here that puts it all into a pretty complete synopsis. I don't want to spend too much time on where we've been because there's some new things that happened over the weekend that I do want to cover around this story, just to give you some backstory. So Dr. Raquel Martin, okay, she is actually a doctor, and she is critiquing some of the comments that have come from Dr. Cheyenne Bryant. So you can see how professionals in that field are viewing what's happening with Dr. Cheyenne Bryant. So let's take a watch.
Practice under a license. Right now I'm in private practice, I'm saying. And that's what people don't understand, right? So just to educate some folks a little bit.
Hello, my name is Dr. Raquel Martin. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist, professor of sciences, and podcast host who specializes in Black health and well-being. And I want to break down a clip from...
Dr. Raquel Martin has a sizable audience on TikTok, too. She's in the tens of millions of views on that platform. Not a slouch by any means. Take a listen.
From the Joe Budden podcast, featuring someone who presents herself as Dr. Cheyenne Bryant. But before we dive in, I want to make something incredibly clear. Having a doctorate does not mean someone is a licensed mental health professional. You can have a doctorate in literature and be unlicensed, and you are still a doctor. You can have a doctorate in education and hold an LPC, being a licensed professional counselor, and you are a licensed mental health professional, and you are still a doctor, but your doctorate is not in psychology. When evaluating...
It's like Dr. Jill Bryant. No, Dr. Jill Biden. That was a conversation that would come up every couple of weeks with Joe Biden's wife, Dr. Jill Biden. She is still a doctor. We'll say it.
Anyone's credentials, it's really critical to look at two things: what their doctorate is actually in and whether they hold a relevant clinical license. In this case, the person you're about to hear from is unlicensed. I'm going to break down why that matters and why this particular message is harmful, especially to the black community that she claims to be serving and that I actually serve.
A license is really only needed so you can bill insurance.
That is incredibly misleading. Yes, you do need a license to bill insurance, but that is not why licensure exists. Licensure protects you. It means I have completed specific education and supervised clinical hours, passed rigorous exams, and I'm accountable to a regulatory board. If I breach confidentiality, if I cross ethical boundaries or harm you, you have somewhere to file a complaint and be sure that I'm held accountable. A license is not paperwork just for billing. It's a consumer protection. When someone drops or loses or no longer has a license, they're not solely avoiding the insurance hassle. They're also removing your recourse if something goes terribly wrong.
Not binded by BBS, the Behavior Board Science Rules and Regulations and Ethics.
A lot of stuttering right there.
And so it just opened up a whole nother, floor in industry for me.
And she's also saying this like it's a good thing. I want to state something really important. Ethics codes exist to protect you from exploitation and boundary violation and providers practicing outside of their competence. When someone celebrates being free from ethical oversight, I want you to think of that as a red flag, a flashing one. It's a warning sign because those rules exist because real harm happens when they're not in place. So celebrating that you don't have to be accountable to that should be concerning to you.
As a therapist, two things: you can obviously make what you deserve, because therapy is real. We're giving everything we have in there, and we're unpacking shit, and we're helping you process through things. So it's not us sitting there where if you're an effective therapist saying, tell me more. You should be unpacking, and you should be able to take somebody and drive with them to their goal.
And here's another thing. She keeps calling herself a therapist, and in most states that's actually illegal without a license. You cannot legally use the title therapist or provide psychotherapy without licensure. What she's describing now is coaching, and coaching and therapy are fundamentally different. Coaches help with goals and accountability. Therapists are trained to diagnose and treat mental health conditions, trauma and depression and suicidality and psychosis. If someone with untreated bipolar disorder or PTSD thinks they're getting therapy from a coach, they're going to be seriously harmed. These are actual conditions that go undiagnosed and untreated, especially within the black community.
That's crazy. 1 second applause.
Okay, so
diagnosed and untreated, especially within the black community.
Okay, so Dr. Raquel, what's her name? Dr. Raquel Martin. Okay, many followers, as he said, many followers on TikTok or social media, right? Doctor, right? She know all this jargon, this medical jargon, right? But she's still saying black, and it's like, okay, you're a doctor, but do you understand African Moorish history? Do you understand how that connects to the quote-unquote black community? So, do you understand linguistics, etymology, semantics, etc.? This, and it's like she's trying to discredit another person for not having the doctor title, but it's like, do you understand basic English? And you have a large platform. I'm not saying this to bash her. I'm not saying no. I'm just trying to correct some of the nonsense that has been brainwashed and programmed into the quote-unquote black community to not understand their African Moorish connection. So she has millions of followers. If she were to just say, oh, we're, show the African Moorish history and connection to black people, this would solve a lot of problems. Just like Neil deGrasse Tyson did in his Club Shay Shay. In his Club Shay Shay interview, which was 2 weeks ago, this was huge because a lot of you still have today, in the day of June 17th, the year 2026, you still have people today thinking that they come from Anunnaki with no evidence. You still have people today who do not understand what a Homo sapien is. You still have people today that think that humans spawned in America. I mean, I just wanted to just make that point. Of course, we already shown African Moorish evidence. We've already shown through the various books. This is what we do, and this isn't to bash Dr. Raquel, Dr. Raquel Martin, but just to bring light to. We gotta understand the etymology, linguistics, and the semantics, because it's gonna be a problem down the line. Okay? So I also want to show another video by Dr. Jose V. Pimenta Bay, author of the book Othello's Children in the New World. Okay? Now, I was looking for the exact quote in this video. I don't know where it is. I'm looking for it. The transcript isn't working for me. I'm looking for Yemen. I'm looking for... Hold on. I don't know what that is. Oh, that's vidIQ.
Yes. He also points out in African Origin of Civilization that the people of Yemen
Here we go.
were a colony.
Hold up. We got it. All right. So we're going to end the live stream after we share this information in regards to Dr. Jose V. Pimenta Bay. So let us let's rewind just a little bit, because this is the part that I was looking for. Okay? Now, make sure y'all check this video out. Let me go to give y'all the title. So this is the title of the video by Moorish World TV. Jose V. Pimenta Bay on the spot interview at the MST of Moorish Science Temple of America 89th Annual Convention. Okay? He's being interviewed by Taharka Bay. Okay, hang on. But I also wanted to bring up a video that I had did, I think earlier this year or last year. I could be wrong. Let's see here. Let's find that. Let me find that video real quick, and then I'll bring it up on the screen. Let's see here. So let me go to our Live on Slow-Moed website, and I want to go to Sheikh Anta Diop. Okay? Sheikh Anta Diop, error, etymological error on the Moors. Okay, so that was, I made this video.
How y'all doing?
Back in October 8th, 2025. Hang on. I want to go to the YouTube link. So let me copy this. Give me one moment. I thank y'all for tuning in. Make sure y'all like, comment, share the video, etc. Do what you can, and because this is some major information, and I ain't gonna sugarcoat it, or not sugarcoat it. Excuse me. All right.
How y'all doing? You're with the host, Maurice Gennard.
All right. So let me put this link and split the screen. There we go. So we got both the videos, as you see here. We got both the videos. Of course, mine is fairly newer. Okay, so about 8 years ago, you see here. But this is a major topic, because a lot of our African and Pan-African scholars who have PhDs have been quoting Sheikh Anta Diop, but also identifying the Moors only with the Arabs and Muslim culture. When the term Moor goes all the way back, before 711, before the year 500 AD, back into the mid, what do I say here? I say 406 BC. 406 BC, according to, I believe, Diodorus Siculus, or Herodotus. Okay, so check out the jokes and etymological error on the Moors, and we have Jose V. Pimenta Bay on the spot interview at moorishscience Temple of America 89th Annual Convention. So I'm going to show Jose V. Pimenta Bay's video first. Let me make this bigger. Hello. Hang on. Let me make the screen. There we go. Alright. So let's get into it.
That's something brief, my brother, because we're going to be able to go into something later on the show. But it's something brief.
So let me go to Sheikh Anta Diop, who is, for good reason, if you will, a kind of patron saint of Pan-African intellectualism, who I have great respect. I mean, Diop was brilliant. Diop said that the Moors, now notice I say he's brilliant, but Diop also, like any of us, is not perfect. And what's required, of course, is other research and researchers to help clarify. Diop made the argument that the Moors essentially were new arrivals to Africa. And he says that many records say that they are from Yemen. Yet, he also points out in African origin of civilization that the people of Yemen were a colony of Abyssinia or Ethiopia at the time that the Prophet Muhammad was born. Peace be upon him and all. So what essentially he's saying is there's a connection, right? Here's Diop, who makes the point that the Moors are essentially new arrivals to the continent of Africa. But then he says that they come from Yemen. But there's no great wall of Africa to prevent people from the continent of Africa migrating back and forth across Africa into Asia.
Absolutely.
So when I hear people saying this, so by that logic, those of us here in the Americas who are identifying as African American shouldn't do so because we're not right now physically on the continent of Africa. What we're saying is that there is a link in terms of our ancestry. There is an ancestral link between our ancestors who are on the continent of Africa who came here. The same is true then when you're looking at Yemen. When Diop said that, he's saying that there's a connection. Yemen, which borders, right, has this heavy influence from Ethiopia or Abyssinia. But the ancient Kemites were the first cousins, if you will, of the people to the south. What we would know as Sudan, Kush, Aksum, Ethiopia, Abyssinia, Ta-Seti, right? So, and all this relates, as you say, to Oman Kush. So, right. So when folks, like you said, say you can't be a Moor and at the same time assert your connection to Kemet, that doesn't make any sense. What you're saying is, I'm using a designation of Moorish American for reasons that really relate to how the structure of the law is in this country. That's what we're saying. That's why we're saying, because we understand
there you go.
In a
Please say that one more time, but because this is what people don't understand. During the ancient time, there was no nation states.
Right.
This is a new era of time.
Actually, Taharka is wrong there. The first nation state was Kemet. What they're calling Egypt now, that was the first nation state.
Understand the language with the prophet, know what you have to use. This is a new era of time.
The prophet had come to address the need of these times and his times, right? Because, just like you say, in antiquity, we didn't have nation states like we have now. So, but now, in the prophet's time,
we have nation states.
Nation states. So what the prophet was doing was saying, I need to set up something that's going to protect our people who are legitimately Moors. He didn't make it up. He didn't pull it out of a hat. He said, this
is the history.
is our history. He knew, evidently, about the history of the Moroccan Empire and its extension, like I said, as far south as the Senegal River and as far east as the border of Egypt, and also other sources that indicate out beyond the Atlantic. So he was saying, look, in this United States, where you have to declare your national name, because only national names, only nations, can be counted under the law as people. You can't be defined by a term that says that you've lost your personhood. And under the law in the 18th century and the 19th century, based upon the Constitution, based upon of course, in the Declaration of Independence, it was understood that you had to have a national name, personhood. The hard thing for people to grasp is that when you use the term black, so you just don't want to be black. What I'm saying is, black is not a nation. To say black, and certainly not Negro and colored, right? So so basically, when people look at the law, that's why when I wrote A Fellow Chosen in the New World, I was as meticulous as I could be in laying out the legal history that showed that people were designated as Negro, black, and colored were then essentially seen as the great historian, late great, John Hope Franklin, out of Duke University, one of the fathers of African American history, said, really, Negroes who were free were what he called semi-free Negroes. See, because they really weren't free, because by virtue of being designated as a Negro, you really weren't free. You're still Negro. But those who had national names, that's why you have examples of people with Africoid features who would claim they were French citizens. And then they were not treated under the law as semi-free Negroes. That's why you had Moors in South Carolina, in Georgia, in Louisiana.
Okay, let me stop it there. Now, in reference to Kemet being the first nation state, I've heard otherwise, though I could be wrong, but I'm currently searching through the book. Kemet and the African Worldview. It might not be this book, but I don't know where that reference would be. But basically, I just showed that Sheikh Diop making this error early on in the video. It was a huge error, and like he said, a lot of Pan-African scholars and African scholars have been using this information and not understanding the etymology of the word Moor and only associating the word Moor with the Arabs, Muslims, and that's it, and not the Africans or Berbers or Garamantes, etc. Tracing back to the Egyptians, Ethiopians, Anu, etc. Interior of Africa, that which includes the Dogon, the Wolof, etc. Okay, so this is our video that we released, and of course y'all can give that a watch. We got the references in here, more references on Sheikh Diop. Oh, didn't have them on the screen during that time. I think I was reading them. Yeah, so we have those references there, and let's see here. What else do we need to cover? So we already covered, I think it was one more thing that I wanted to cover, but I don't think I wrote it down. Here you go, Buzz. Justin Hunt. Okay. So I think that we covered, we pretty much covered basically everything on this live stream. We just came up on 2 hours, so yeah. I thank y'all for tuning in this live stream. We covered a lot of information on this live stream. I thank y'all for tuning in. Make sure y'all share this video, like it, comment, subscribe, etc., because this information is critical to I guess I'll end on a couple of statements that I'll address to certain individuals in the audience who've stuck around for this long. So, within the past decade, I've had a lot of individuals that I've been associated with, basically ostracize me, chastise me, and ridicule everything that basically I presented in this live stream, because they didn't have the evidence during that time, and they had an ego, just like Professor Dave explains. So we've been covering Moorish information over the past decade and then some, and this has been ridiculed and made fun of and ostracized, chastised, etc. And we've just been providing the evidence in response to the fact. So you have a lot of people, especially in the Western Hemisphere, who have an ego problem in the educational system. So you have a lot of people who have a lot of college degrees, who think that they know everything and has never been challenged, because they think that the college degrees makes them, and that's just the most important thing in their life. And I understand the emotion tied to obtaining a college degree and being the first person in your family to obtain a college degree and all this. I understand that. It's an emotional experience, right? However, the ego boost that comes with that needs to be checked. And you have individuals who are older than you, whoever you are, for those who are watching, those who are aspiring for knowledge, as opposed to just being told stuff and just Googling stuff. You have people who are older who think that they know everything, and they have an ego problem. They're narcissistic and egocentric, and they often criticize and become skeptics and close off knowledge because of their ego. So you have people like this who needs to lower their egos and research and look for answers, as opposed to just being a sheep and going off of what people are telling you just because they got a degree. So I thank y'all for tuning in, and we live stream every Wednesday and at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. We have a very, very important video or update coming that you all should be prepared for, possibly by the end of this week, possibly the weekend, going over some of the events that are occurring in our current time. And of course, like always, we have more slow-moed Moorish portals on the way. So we have a lot more dimensions to transport you all perceptually to. And make sure y'all support our clothing, our merchandise on our official website, as you see here. And if you do not want to support our merchandise, make sure you donate to our Cash App, as you see scrolling across the screen, or donate to our PayPal. And I thank you kindly for tuning in to this live stream, and I bid y'all farewell. Deuces.